And then we do X factor stuff. And I'm not going to show all the videos because I'll show all the videos in my next presentation about apex predators. But this is stuff that we do that we have a reasonable hunch improves sprinting. Usually I say, what things are fast people good at? I don't know if you noticed, like the guy that was jumping the highest was the 10.71 guy. If that seems to be a KPI of speed, let's jump high a lot with a lot of rest. And it's mostly standing around. X Factor workouts, mostly standing around. And I realize that teachers and coaches have all been taught to keep kids busy. You know what? When you do that, it's called busy work. It's not performance-based. If you have to fill time, that's called filler. Essentialists don't like filler, don't like busy work. Okay, lactate work. I think this is really important. You got to be super fast to be good at the 400. Super fast. Ernie Clark says your first 200 has to be PR +1, and your second 200 is PR +3. There's no such thing as even splits. There's no such thing as being a +2 and +2. You know, that'll never happen. Your second 200's slower than your first. And the second one's really hard. So if you run 11 flat, you should run 22 flat. In the 200, you should run 48 in the 400. But if you run 22 flat, your first 200 has to be in 23, or you're screwed. So that's why it's hard. Interesting, Van Niekerk at the halfway point ran 20.50. Is that fast for the first half of a two? Oh. To do that, you have to be like a 1950 type of guy in the 200, right? By the way, he freaking died at the end and still broke the world record. That's the way you run the 400. You run the 400 fast. And there's nothing you can do in practice that makes the last 100 easy. Nothing. Nothing. You can't run slow enough in the first half of the race to make the second half feel good. So you might as well go hard and be in the lead and let the magic of the race win for you. So, lactate work. It's fast, it's short, 15 to 25 seconds, incomplete rest, but enough rest that you don't fail in the second rep. You must be poisoned after or going into the last rep. You must, that poison, by the way, is acid. Acidosis, hydrogen ions. The lactate's the measurable. The volume is low. Our biggest workout last year was 600 meters, period. And we only lost the 4x4 twice in all of our meets all year long. We lost twice. You have to sell it to your kids, of course. Everything we do, we have to sell. Our goal is biochemical toughness. I don't like mental toughness. If kids are sick afterwards, yours is not biochemically tough yet. You know, your chemistry is not up to par. Hey, you're not sick? You're acidic. You're not sick. So we do 3 different ones. I'm going to go really fast here because I think I made a 2-hour presentation. I have articles about all of these. I will show you the 23-second drill. I'm going to go through that fast. Basically, we do 24 seconds with a 178-meter track indoors because of our tight turns. And if you want to read about this stuff, you can look at my article. It's the greatest thing. How many of you do the 23-second drill? It's amazing, isn't it? Kids that just freaking lay it on the line. It is an amazing thing. Speaking of laying it on the line, I just started a sophomore that runs about 24. Quinn is going to start Marcellus. This is our school record here. This is actually his second one of the day. He runs a 2:15. I never have to talk about effort, ever, 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 ever. '24, 215 meters on a 178-meter track. That record will never be broken, ever. That was the second one. He ran 2:10 on his first. On the second one, you try to get within 5 of the first. He went 5 further. Probably because there's a predator-prey shit going on. You know, like he saw that guy. He was in the perfect race. Lost his mind. That's the way you run. You lose your mind. I'm really big on data. The guys in red were my all-staters. The guy in yellow were my guys from this year. This stuff takes time. But I can tell somebody like goofy Josh Ulrey here, goofiest kid, does all of our speed drills with suitcase arms. It's like, come on. But anyway, Josh, I say, hey, you're better than 2 all-staters were as freshmen. That's motivating as hell. Just imagine when you start moving your arms. The 4x4 predictor, basically it's just 3 200s with 3 or 4 minutes rest. Now the predictor part is that you add the 3 times together, take 2/3, add 2. Let's say you were good enough to run a 24, a 24, and a 24. 2/3 of that is 48 plus 2, 50. That predictor, I don't do it because of the predictor. I let meets take care of who's fast. But it makes the workout significant. I never have to talk about effort because of record, rank, and publish, and I'm going to tweet it out, and our guys want to kill this workout. By the way, there is a 10-meter run-in. 10-meter run-in. And, you know, I do that stuff. That's from last year. This is the exact same thing. I'll go fast. But we go 450, and we do 3 150s instead. Now, I think this is arguably harder because the predictors add the 3 times. So if you want to run a 45, it's pretty hard because you have to run a 15, 15, 15. That's why high school kids don't run 45s. They don't. I've written an article about that too. And here's our predictors from last year. All these times are within 1 second of their 4x4 PR from last year. All of within 1 second. Once in a while, this guy was a first-year sophomore. Shocked us. Ran a 53.04. He had never run the 400 before. We let him off in a fresh soft 4x4, and he goes out and runs like a 53.5 leadoff. And everybody's pretty excited. I was like, no, we kind of expect that. He showed what he can do. I mean, I'm telling you, with only 3 minutes rest, you don't feel real good. By the way, this stuff helps teach people how to run the 400 as well. Because I like, especially the 3 times 200. What happens if you go out and run it too fast, the first one? The next 2 are going to suck. You know what that teaches you? That teaches you to run fast and loose in the first 200 of a 400, or else it's going to suck. You know, I mean, if you go if your veins are popping out, you won't like the second half of the race. But it's still fast. So we're teaching guys how to run the race. And we really glorify the 4x4. You know, that's a great pick. This Vietnamese kid right here had no business beating those 2 cats, but he did. And part of it, I think, is our culture. We make it a sacred, holy, spiritual fist fight. That's what we do. And Marcel's worked about 1/10 as hard as those poor suckers he's beaten, but he's faster than they are. None of them thought that this last 100 was pleasant. None of them. But we had no cats. Shut up. I mean, if you treat them like dogs, they'll never get faster, and you won't have much of a track team, and you'll never have football players coming out. I'm going to skip this section because I got 8 minutes left. Oh, I do. I got to say this. A parent said, my kid runs 12.5 in the 100, 25 flat in the 200, and I think he's a 400 guy, but he has no stamina at the end. What do you tell that guy? He's not fast enough to run 49. Right? If you run 12.5, you should run 25 in the 200. If you run 25 in the 200, you should run double it plus 4. So this guy, even though the kid may be really looking tired at the end, that wasn't why he was running 54. He's running 54 because he wasn't fast enough to run 52 or 50. And that kid's not ever going around 49. We can get him down to a 52 or 51 maybe, but it's not going to come from endurance. It's going to be only because of speed gains. Be careful. That's a cool story. Got a basketball teammate of mine got third in the state in cross country, 14.24 in the 3 mile. I was never a 3 miler. I was more of a sprinter. And the first practice after he got third in the state, first practice in basketball, he only lasted 2 suicides at the end. Then he's puking. Because that 14.24 is not the same energy system as suicides were. My dad said, don't worry about Dave, he's not in basketball shape yet. That's right. He was an aerobic engine. He was not in shape to do what basketball requires.